Good afternoon, learners. Welcome to our reading and writing class. It is my prayer that all of us will be given sustenance and grace by the Lord Almighty as we all combat with this life amidst the pandemic. So before starting with our lesson, let us have a brief review on the previous topic we have discussed. Yes, it was all about the different brainstorming techniques, and it includes making a cube, act like a journalist, free writing, T-diagram, tree diagram, and Venn diagram. So those brainstorming techniques can be utilized whenever we wanted to generate information or ideas to be used in a certain task, say for instance in making an essay. Now let us now proceed to the next lesson for this afternoon. But before that, allow me first to present to you a picture. What can you see in this particular picture? When you say you can see an example of a food chain, you are correct. So in here, what is being presented is a grass that can be food for a grasshopper. A grasshopper can be eaten by a mice can be a food for the snake, and the snake can be consumed by an eagle. And once the eagle died, the nutrients, the decomposed body of the eagle will become nutrients for the grasses to survive, and the chain goes on. So this one is an example of a food chain, and you are correct. Now my next question is, what do you think aided you in understanding the concept of the picture that was presented to you? Yes, you are correct. Through the aid of the graphic organizer, you were able to understand the concept of the food chain that was presented to you. And that will be our lesson this afternoon. So before proceeding to our lesson, allow me to present to you the objectives of this afternoon's lesson. Number one is, at the end of the lesson, you are going to use graphic organizer in presenting details. Number two, you are going to extract information from a reading text using the appropriate graphic organizers in illustrating information. Now, let us proceed to the discussion of graphic organizers as well as its examples. So a graphic organizer are visual display of key content information designed to benefit learners who have difficulty in understanding information. This one is from Fisher and Schoolmaker in 1995. So graphic organizers are meant to help the students to clearly visualize how ideas are organized within a text or surrounding a concept. And these organizers provide the students with the structure of an abstract idea. Now this one, I have here examples of different graphic organizers. Number one of which is the concept map. A concept map is a general organizer that shows the central idea with its corresponding characteristics. So these concept maps can take many different shapes and can be used to show any type of relationship that can be labeled. So the example given here is showing the early means of transportation that gives the three examples. We have the canoe, walking, and the horses. So what were the different descriptions of those early means of transportation? A canoe can be used on the water and it is being described to be fast. Another example, the walking. Walking can be done on the land and it is described to be slow. Another example, the horses. The horses can be used on the land and described to be a fast means of early transportation. So when you can see the concept map here, it illustrates the concepts in the central idea with its corresponding characteristics. So the early means of transportation here is the central idea. The characteristics are being illustrated on the boxes here with the corresponding arrows. So this one is an example of a graphic organizer. Another, we have the flow diagram or sequence chart. So this one is a series, shows the series are the events in order which they take place. So any concept that has distinct order can be displayed in the type of organizer. It is an excellent tool for the teacher, for teaching the students the steps necessary to do to reach the final point. So when we wanted to illustrate something in particular order, say for example, the process of doing something, our option is to use the flow diagram or sequence chart. Say for example, when we wanted to prepare for a spelling test, what are the necessary things we have to do? Number one, we can write our name on the paper. Number two, we can write the date under our name, and we can write numbers 1 to 20 for us to start to commence with the spelling test. So this one is an example of a flow diagram or a sequence chart. Another example of graphic organizer is the compare and contrast diagram. So as you can see, when we say a compare and contrast diagram, it reflects the Venn diagram, of course. So it shows the different, comparison and contrast of two things. Say for example, the characteristic or the character comparison of Bill and Kendra. Bill there is described to be a happy, smart, and he has 4 siblings, and he is a basketball player. While Kendra, on the other hand, is the one that wears glasses. She is a basketball player, she has 2 dogs, and she is pretty. So what made Bill and Kendra the same or similar in different characteristics is that they both are in 4th grade, and they are both watching the Rugrats, and they like to read, and math is their favorite subject. So when we wanted to illustrate a comparison and contrast, or the similarities and differences of the things, then we can use the Venn diagram, the graphic organizer that is a Venn diagram. Another example of a graphic organizer is the cause and effect diagram. So this one highlights the direct relationship between the different events or the concept. This tool is one of the most beneficial organizers because of its many applications in the subject area. Say supposing you wanted to illustrate the causes and effects of something. Say supposing the causes and effects why the flower died. So the causes here include it did not rain for 3 weeks and the temperature was 100 degrees. So what were the effects when the flower already died? So it includes the bee could not find a nectar anymore, and the plant cannot reproduce again. So this one is an example of a cause and effect diagram. So the last here we have the main idea and details charts. So this one shows the hierarchical relationship between major concepts and their subordinating elements. So this organizer is extremely beneficial in helping the students distinguish central ideas and their corresponding details from the less important ones. So what is given an example here is that why Thomas Jefferson was considered to be a very important person in Virginia. So that is the main idea. Now what were the 3 reasons why Thomas Jefferson was considered as such? So the main idea or the supporting idea includes, number 1, he wrote the Declaration of Independence. Number 2, he was the 3rd President of the United States. And number 3, he founded the University of Virginia. So if you can see, the details were actually being arranged in its importance. So the first important one is he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and then he was the President of the United States, and he founded the University of Virginia. So it was arranged according to its importance. So this one is an example of main idea and the details chart. So I know you have understand the lesson well, so let us proceed to our activity. So this one will be a group activity. So go to your respective groups as you will be doing something. Group 1, you will be asked to use the lyrics of the song Jack and Jill to illustrate the cause and effect of Jack and Jill's mishap using the cause and effect. So again, the instruction is the group 1 will do the singing or will understand the lyrics of the Jack and Jill song, in which they are going to make a cause and effect chart illustrating the Jack and Jill's mishap. Next, the group 2, you are going to make a compare and contrast chart by comparing and contrasting 2 different religions from your group using the Venn diagram. So, find two different religions in your group, and you are going to compare and contrast that one using the Venn diagram. The group 3, from among the group members, choose the one with the longest hair and then illustrate her family tree using the concept map. So, again, choose the one with the longest hair, and what you're going to do with the one with the longest hair is that you are going to extract information of the family tree of that person. And you are going to use the concept map. Another, for the group 4, you are going to illustrate the sequence of creating or signing into a Google Mail using the flow diagram. So again, you're going to write down the steps in logging in or signing in into a Google Mail using the what? The flow diagram. So I'll give you 5 minutes to do this task, and you will be presenting this one here in front. Now, I presume that you all have understood our lesson this afternoon on graphic organizer. Now, for your final task, I have here a story. So, there was once a boy who hardly had any toys or money. Nevertheless, he was a happy boy. He said that what made him happy was doing things for others, and that doing so gave him a nice feeling inside. However, no one ever believed him, and they thought he was sleepy. He spent all day helping others, dispensing charity to the poorest, and looking after abandoned animals. Very seldom did he do anything to himself. One day, he met a famous doctor who thought the boy's case was so peculiar that he decided to investigate him. With the complex system of cameras and tubes, the doctor managed to record what was happening inside the boy. What he discovered was surprising. Each day, the boy did something good. 1,000 tiny angels gathered around the boy's heart and started tickling it. That explained the boy's happiness. But he continued studying until he discovered that we all have thousands of angels inside us. And fortunately, he found out that as we do few good things, the angels, most of their time, was spent on wandering about and getting bored. And so, it was that the secret to happiness was discovered, thanks to the little boy who knew exactly what we have to do to feel our hearts being tickled. Now, from the story that I have just read, what you are going to do is to extract information that was mentioned in the story by using any of the appropriate graphic organizers that we have discussed. So do this one for 5 minutes and then pass your papers after that. So very good. I presume you have all understood the lesson because you all did great in our final activity. Now for your assignment, your task is to use appropriate graphic organizers that you have learned to illustrate your preparations that you need to do for you to be able to pass entrance examination for college. So again, your task will be to provide necessary steps that you are going to do in preparation for you in taking entrance examination in college. So that will be all of our lesson this afternoon. Once again, good afternoon and God bless us all.